Test 1, Section 1. You will hear a new student, Tom, talking to a student representative called Rachel about university clubs. You now have 30 seconds to read questions 1 to 4.
Hi, welcome to Freshers Week. I'm Rachel. Can I help you?
Oh, hi. Yes, I was hoping to find out about some clubs I could join.
Well, all the club stands are here in this hall. What were you interested in?
Not sure. I wanted to do something where I could meet people.
Well, take this leaflet with details of all the clubs and see what you think.
Oh.
It'll probably depend on what day you're free. Like on Mondays, there's the film club. Then on Tuesdays, you've got the climbing club. That's really good. I'm in that. Then on Wednesdays, you've got chess, if you want something a bit more intellectual. But you should look through carefully because all the clubs run extra activities as well as their normal meetings.
Oh, yes, I see. So it looks like the film club has discussions after the films. I'd quite like to go to those. Then climbing. Goodness. It says here that the university has its own climbing wall. That's impressive. And they go on weekend trips. Cool. And it says the chess club normally just does games with whoever turns up. But it also runs competitions sometimes. But I bet you've got to be pretty good to do that.
Yes, I think so.
And how many people are in the clubs? Are they all really full?
Well, obviously they're all different. So, for example, the film club has just increased its membership from 85 to 125. But I think they're hoping to extend it to 150. The climbing club's quite small, 40 people. And the chess club is fairly healthy at 55.
Right. OK. So who do I see if I want to join these clubs?
Well, if you go round the stands and speak to the people there, for the film club, that's the events organiser. For climbing, you'll need the club secretary. And the chess club is organised by one of the maths tutors. OK?
Yep. I think I'll start with the climbing club. It sounds good.
Oh, well, as I said, I'm in that, so I might be able to help you a bit.
You now have 30 seconds to read questions 5 to 10.
OK. It says in the leaflet that they get together twice a month. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, you must join. It's really good fun. We go away quite a bit to North Wales. And every year we have a special excursion, usually to France, which is where we're going this year in the spring. The weather's too unpredictable in the autumn.
Wow, that sounds good. But it must cost a lot.
Yeah, but we try and save up for it through subscriptions. So rather than having a huge sum to pay in the month we go, we collect those weekly, so it spreads it out.
Good idea. I think I'll definitely join.
There are quite good benefits you get from joining. I mean, you need that, don't you? And the university clubs normally try and do deals with local businesses, so it's really worth joining. Like in the climbing club, they've got a special arrangement with one of the shops in town. So if you show your card, you can get money off equipment. Don't think the discount extends to clothes, though.
That's really worth it then. I'll go over and talk to them now.
OK. Hope you do join. Oh, and another thing I meant to say. If you do become a member, you automatically receive a magazine once a year. It's quite useful and interesting because it goes out to all the national climbing clubs. And the other thing is, if you come to every session, then you can get a complimentary ticket to the big exhibition that's held in Cardiff every year. So, hope to see you.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for your help.
Section 2. You will hear the Human Resources Manager talking to new employees about the rules in the workplace. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Hello and welcome. I'm going to give you a brief induction to working with us at Compass Construction. First, I'll be covering basic health and safety requirements. Next, information about timesheets and pay, and some guidelines around workplace behavior and dress codes. Finally, I'll finish by explaining our emergency procedures. Right, health and safety. As your employer, we have an obligation to take all reasonable steps to ensure your safety at work. This is our responsibility by law, and we take it very seriously. But you also have responsibility for your own safety. That means you're required to follow safety requirements and keep yourself and others safe. Employees who fail to do so will receive formal warnings. So, what happens in the unlikely event that you or someone else is hurt or almost hurt at work? Report it. A serious accident? Report it. Stub your toe? Report it. We also require employees to report near misses. A near miss being a fancy way of saying an accident waiting to happen. Almost slipping on a wet floor, for example. It's important to report near misses because if you don't, someone could get hurt next time round. So, the incident report forms are kept at reception. Linda will show you how these need to be filled in and filed. If you're unable to attend work for any reason, we ask that you give us at least 4 hours notice before your shift begins. But of course, the more notice we get, the better. Now, you'll be working with us on a part-time basis, so you'll have to fill out a timesheet each week. You need to complete this daily. Then, at the end of the week, ask your supervisor to sign it and email a copy to your manager by 5 p.m. on Friday.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Right, next. Accepted standards of behavior. It may seem obvious, but work isn't the place for silly behavior. In our industry, we can't have people fooling around, especially with the equipment and machinery we have here on site. It's too easy for something to go wrong. There's also no place for swearing, bullying, or harassment at work. So if you're at all concerned at any time, please talk directly to your manager about this. Finally, what to do if there's a disaster of some sort. Dress codes first. Like all our office employees, you need to wear the standard white shirt with the company logo. You'll be provided with 2 of these. You wear your own trousers or skirt, which must be black, tidy, and smart. No jeans, and always black. In your role, you'll mostly be on reception. However, you may occasionally be asked to do something that requires you to go into the workshop area. In that case, you'll need to be decked out in proper PPE, personal protective equipment, steel-capped boots, a vest, and, depending on what you're doing, gloves and a hard hat. The gloves are needed for any task that requires contact with dangerous chemicals, for instance. All the PPE is kept in the room before the workshop, which we passed through earlier. Right, now finally, if there's a fire or other disaster and the fire alarm sounds, you need to leave immediately. Don't try to go out the glass doors because they're automatic and may not be operating. The fire exit is through the door to the right of the main glass doors. When you exit, leave everything behind, including your bag, keys, and phone. People often fumble around wasting precious time when there just isn't time for that. So it's a company policy to take yourself to safety and nothing else. Once you exit the building, you need to make your way to the nearest assembly point, which from reception is just over there, in front of the big oak tree in the car park. We have drills every 6 months, so that will give you a chance to go through the drill. The last one was in January, I think, so the next one will be in a couple of weeks, early June, I believe. So that's my presentation. I know there's a lot to take in, but look, if there's something you don't understand, just ask. Everyone expects new people to ask questions, so don't be shy. Ask away. Right, I'll take a few questions now, and then I'm going to hand you over to Steve, who will give you an overview of the company's hazard management plan. Although you're working on reception, which should be relatively free of hazards, you need to know the process for identifying something that could cause harm. That is, if you notice a hazard in the workshop or office areas. So, any questions on what we've covered so far?
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3.
You're going to hear a conversation between a man and a woman about some local stores. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Mini Test 21. You will hear a conversation between a student, Ali, and a professor about a scholarship program. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 27. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 27.
Hi, your name is Ali Ibrahim?
Yes, it is, Mum.
Nice. Please, come and sit down. Any water?
No, thank you. I had some earlier.
Okay then, so you are interested in applying for the Schoonbeck Scholarship. Like you were informed in the email sent to you, it is for 2 years of independent study in a foreign country sponsored by the J. Schoonbeck Foundation.
Yes, that's the one I applied for.
All right then. Well, this is a preliminary interview where we go over your application.
Yes, I have all the requested materials here, the application form, transcripts, and my statement of purpose.
We just want to make sure everything is in order and that our school nominates the best students as candidates for this prestigious scholarship. Your transcripts?
Yes, they are all here from 2004 through 2008, including the summer coursework I did in England.
Did you say you had your writing samples, your 2 required writing samples?
Oh, yes, I do. They're right here.
Good. And what classes are they from?
Well, one is from a political science class on democratic governments in developing countries, and the other one is an art history paper on religious paintings in 16th century France.
Sounds good. And how many references did you put down?
They indicated I had to put at least 5 down, 4 of which had to be professors I have had, and at the most 8 references. I put down 7 different ones.
That sounds like a good number.
Yes, 6 of them are different professors I've had, and the last one is a college administrator.
Great. Then let's go over some of the dates.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 28 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 28 to 30.
In 1 week from now, on 7 September, you are going to have a group interview.
That will be conducted by 3 professors, right?
Correct. They will determine whether or not our school will sponsor your application.
Sponsor my application? Does that mean if they don't give approval, I can't apply for the Schoonbeck Scholarship?
Yes, the J. Schoonbeck Foundation only accepts applications from those approved by their universities or colleges.
I see. Then after that, I can submit my application.
Right, and that initial application is due on the 10th of October.
Yes, I believe it must be postmarked no later than that date.
And your references must have submitted their evaluations by...
No later than 1 week after.
Okay, yes, the recommendations must be submitted no later than 1 week after the initial application is due. That would be the 17th of October.
I'll be sure to remind all the people I put down as references.
With luck, you'll make it past the first round and go on to the second.
I heard that was quite arduous as well.
Yes, after all the interviews, you also have to attend a dinner function with foundation members and other applicants as well.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Hello everyone. Today's talk is about motor vehicle technology of the future, and in particular about driverless cars. So first, what is a driverless car? This is not a simple question, and the British automotive industry has set 5 levels of driver control on the route to truly autonomous vehicles. Level 0 or driver-only cars are what most of us are operating right now. By that I mean we control the car by operating the pedals and the steering, and if we lose concentration or fall asleep, we're in big trouble. However, our current Level 0 cars already contain sophisticated mega-computers. Did you know? There are over 70 small pieces of software in your car. They control the accelerator, the brakes, and lots more. Yes, you have to press the pedals, but after that the software takes over to actually operate the vehicle. Okay, so now Level 1 or assisted cars are already on the market. So what's different about these cars? They tend to have computer-controlled assistance for parallel parking or electronic braking systems. Some companies are also making Level 2 or partially automated cars. They have functions like adaptive cruise control and lane keeping. They can change their speed to match the car in front of them, so they can operate in heavy traffic. However, drivers still need to monitor carefully and be ready to take over if necessary. Now, note that higher levels are not yet available for commercial sale, but Level 3 or conditional automation vehicles will in theory be able to perform highway driving without the need for input from you, the driver. Well, not totally. They might need to ask the driver to take over in difficult situations, giving sufficient notice so that he or she is ready to resume control. So you can't go to sleep. So, what's the next step in this gradual process of developing automated vehicles? Yes, Level 4, or high automation vehicles. These cars may not have pedals or a steering wheel at all. Can you imagine that? They will be restricted to city environments, but in other ways are not so different from Level 5 cars, which will be fully automated in all situations. In this science fiction future, the driver may get into a vehicle, program it, and then sip coffee, sleep, or check the internet while the car propels him safely to his destination. Well, of course, there's intense competition among the automotive industry to be the first to produce and test a workably robotically controlled car. But these cars are nowhere near ready for open road driving. They can only operate on roads that have been extensively computer mapped, and they're very inflexible at dealing with anything unexpected, like new stop signs, for example. Let's see. Other technological issues for some models include problems with operating in some weather conditions, such as rain and snow. However, many insiders agree that these problems will eventually be solved, and that the biggest hurdle is getting the driving public to accept the idea. UK and US surveys in 2012 showed that somewhere between 37 to 49% of people would be comfortable owning one of these cars. However, at this time, only 22% of Germans were positive and 24% were hostile about the idea. A more recent international survey in 2015 indicated that 33% would like to own an autonomous vehicle, but most respondents still wanted to be in control of their car. Right, so another issue for the consumer is cost, though this could be offset to some extent because of lower insurance premiums. People may be nervous about autonomous cars, but, the facts speak for themselves. It's estimated that 90% of all car crashes are caused by drivers making mistakes. In 2014, in the USA alone, nearly 33,000 people died in cars. Driverless cars could hugely reduce that number. Some people estimate a 99% reduction in car accidents, but that would require 100% of cars to be robot-controlled. So what about the transition period? After all, whenever it begins, this change can't happen overnight. For many years, both human and computer-controlled vehicles will share our roads. Motorway driving is relatively predictable, but, as we know, most cars are driven in complex situations in crowded cities. Even human drivers struggle to make split-second decisions in these situations. How can a driverless car be programmed to deal with crazy driving? But what's the biggest dilemma? It's an ethical one. How can we program a driverless car to make a choice in cases where an accident is inevitable? Should the car be programmed to choose the lowest number of injuries, or to protect its driver first? This issue is not trivial, and it could cause a big delay in the introduction of the new technology. Nevertheless, this change will surely come. The potential advantages are just too great. As well as slashing the road toll, the cars will potentially minimize road congestion, because robot cars will be able to travel much faster and closer together than we do on our current road networks. Eventually, this will reduce driving time and thus increase our productivity. Fuel costs will fall with more efficient consumption patterns, but I suspect driving won't be as much fun.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test.